Oh, hey guys. So we're live.
Hey.
Welcome. Uh, Hopefully we get a few people jumping on to say hi,
hmm
and maybe I'll be able to answer a few questions as well. So I am joined here today by the amazing Shumba Colour team. Who would normally be kicking ass in the salon on a Saturday, but instead we're at home linking up on Zoom because of our stage 4 restrictions in Melbourne. So we have, as a team, been working really hard with our time out of the salon on creating some amazing online education. And when we're doing this, we started to have these really amazing, intense chats on what we love about certain things and putting the content together and designing the course. And I sort of was like, no, this needs to be shared. Like, we need to have these conversations with all of you because, I feel there's so much juicy information that we're sharing amongst ourselves. So yeah, I just wanted to have the opportunity to welcome these four amazing ladies on and have a bit of a chat. And the topic that we are going deep into today is foils versus balayage. So we've created an amazing foil course. We've created an amazing freehand painting balayage course. So we just want to mash out a little bit of our chats around, the things that we've discovered and want to share with you guys. And if you've got any comments, please just drip them in down below. But so yeah, this is the amazing team, colour team from Shumba. So I'm going to start with Colleen down the bottom. So Colleen is one of our creative team directors at Shumba in Chapel Street. She is an absolute goddess of colour. If any of you have attended any of my education in the past or had anything to do with me, you will always know that Colleen is there. I always say we're the yin and the yang, and we work very, very well together. And I really, any colour project that I ever embark on, Colleen is always there as well. She's a wealth of information. So welcome, Cole.
Hi, everyone.
Applause.
All right. And second up, I'm going to introduce Ellie Painter. Yes, real last name, crazy. Ellie is one of our kick-ass hair painters at Shumba. She specialises in freehand painting, especially on long, dark, amazing brunette hair. Ellie also works really hard on the education with me and has done quite a lot of classes in the past in terms of online delivery and also in the reel. She's also a very amazing graphic design artist. So if you ever see any of my booklets or certificates, Ellie is the one who is in charge of that one. So thanks, Ellie. Welcome.
Hi. Another round.
Yay. And the newest member to the BK Ed Education team is Crystal Wilson. So Crystal joined our team at the start of the year. It's been a pretty rocky introduction to Melbourne hairdressing at Shumba, but we have worked on some really amazing projects together during this time. And since she started at Shumba, she is a superhero. I always say everyone that comes to Shumba has a superpower. And Crystal's superpower is definitely her freehand painting and foil skills. And she is a huge asset to our team in terms of colour education. So I want to welcome the amazing Crystal all the way from Canada in Melbourne, stuck in Melbourne. We'd like to think, that we could have you stuck here under different circumstances, but here you are in Melbourne. So we're very blessed and lucky to have you here in Melbourne. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, so we are just going to jump straight into our chat. I've got some pretty cool questions, if I can find them again, on foils versus freehand painting balayage. That's what we're here to talk about. And I'm going to start the first one with you, Colleen. So I want you to describe in your own words the difference you see between your foil work and freehand balayage work in the salon.
So for me personally, when I look at freehand compared to the foil work, freehand is a lot more organic. It has a little bit more of a softer feel when it comes to the root area as well. So it'll have multiple, like a lot of dimension through the mids and ends, but it is definitely a little bit more softer through this sort of area through here. So in turn, that means that it does have a little bit of a softer grow out. So people can actually drag it out for a little bit longer as well. So it's great for the low maintenance client. Whereas with foils, it's a lot more precision. It has a little bit more structure to the placement. And it does have, like, generally it's also depends on the technique that you're using to whether or not, like, you're having a lot more colour coming through this root area compared to a balayage and stuff, all the way through to the ends. And also it's, with the foils, it's great for, because you are creating heat with that packet as well, it is great to get that extra bit of lightness and that variation in your balayages as well.
Awesome. All right, this one's for you, Crystal.
Okay.
When would you choose foils over freehand balayage?
How much time do I have in my appointment? I'm just kidding. I think what would make me choose is the client. Sometimes you have those clients who are used to having classic foils, and sometimes I don't feel that they are going to be ready for the change of freehand, and I have to ease them into that. Also, yeah, exactly what Colleen said, depending how much lightness needs to be coming from the root. I think that's something that I teach, is that you can still paint to the root, but it is always going to be leaving depth because you're surface painting. So it's really depending on really diving into that consultation and seeing what the actual end result is, how much variation, and if they are okay with variation. If they want their hair to be kind of all the same tone of blonde, I probably wouldn't go in with a freehand, because there's no way that I'm going to guarantee that I'm going to get the same lift everywhere. I have a little bit more insurance in a foil, I think.
Cool. All right, Ellie.
Yes.
When would you choose to combine the two techniques together, so the foiling and the freehand balayage?
So I actually do this all the time. And I would say two main times I would do this is if I've got a client who's like a typical head of foils, and you know, with foils you get that beautiful brightness on the root, but then you get that little bit dull on the ends, or you've got over build up of toner and that kind of thing. I can do a full head of foils and I can paint out those ends. So I love doing that to just brighten the ends and peel off any old toner or any dullness or pollution that's on the ends. That is one of my favorite ways to combine the two. And then I also do it a lot if I've got someone with really, really dark hair and they want to achieve that kind of balayage look or an overall lightness. But maybe my preference would be to do freehand, but I'm always going to get a warmer result. So if I'm combining foils and freehand, I can, one, get more dimension, and two, I can get more lift with the foils, and then a little bit more of a softer tone with the freehand as well. So I combine them all the time. The sort of options are endless, really.
Yeah, you do that all the time.
Yeah.
All right, so Crystal, we spoke about this at length the other day for quite some time. But what hair types are best suited to freehand balayage painting?
Yeah, I think all hair types are suited to it, but the best is obviously when you get those level 7, level 8, if they want to be light. Like, that is the best, but it's all the best to me. Like, I love painting a curl. I think it's not about what's the best, because they all can be done. It's about if they need the lift. Say you're a level 3 and you're wanting to be at a level 8, then realistically that's not the best hair to freehand in that instance. But it's not so much about the hair type, it's about the result, I think.
Beautiful. All right, Ellie, when dealing with really, 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 really fine textured hair, what would be your go-to choice, either foiling or freehand painting? And let's just sort of put that into context. They want to be right to the root.
Okay. If they want to be, I see, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because it really...
Fine hair. They got fine hair.
We've got fine hair. It depends on the final result as well. But yes, if they're wanting to be to the root, I would typically go for a foil. Just because sometimes with freehand painting, you are loading on quite a bit of product for saturation. And if the hair is super, super fine, sometimes you can sort of spread that product a little bit too far and create blotches if you're not controlling your product correctly. So I would say to the root application, foils is great. But in saying that, if they don't want to the root application, I actually love doing freehand through finer hair through the ends, because if I'm doing that in a foil, like a faux foil, we might call it, sometimes it can be really hard to budge out that blend line on really fine hair. So yeah, it can be a bit of teetering between the two, but for to the root application, I would say foils.
Yeah, okay. Cole, what do you love about your foil work in the salon?
I love it for lots of different techniques. I generally foil a lot, especially with my creative work and everything as well. I have a lot of clients that have darker hair and are quite tonorexic as well, so they prefer to have no warmth, no anything. So that's where I combine a lot of my foil work with the balayage as well to give like lots of popping around the face, variation with the balayage, as well as just giving that nice sort of grow out look when it comes to the foils.
Now, you do the predominant amount of colour correction work in our salon. How important is foiling with that colour correction work? Like, you can't just free willy it in that, can you?
No, no, not at all. I find, a lot of the time, because you are getting out a lot of colour build up and everything, you do need the foils to be able to create that heat, to be able to get all that colour out and be able to get the results that you really want.
Okay. Crystal, give me your top tip on face framing and just explain that technique for us. And you can do it, with foils or freehand painting. What's your go-to?
Oh, I love both. I think my top tip for face framing right now is, whether or not I'm doing a foil or a freehand face frame, doing that base and balayage on just that face frame at the end is my top tip, because that's how you're really getting that extra pop. But if I'm freehand painting, to get that hairline, if I'm only doing a face frame, my top tip would be lying back in the basin and actually doing a balayage. So they're lying back and I can get that hairline and that's it, and they go back to the chair. But it's so quick and I can really get everything around the hairline without being uncomfortable. Like, it's just so fast. I love doing that.
So is this on top of, you've already either painted it or?
No. So if I'm doing it just as say they come in and they only want their hairline done, I'm doing it on dry hair. So even though I'm in the basin, it's not because I'm wetting them, it's that they can lie back so I can get to that hairline. Yeah. It's so fast and it's amazing. But if I really want that pop, sometimes what I'm doing is putting my foils in and at the basin after. So balayage is on dry hair, base and balayage is on wet hair. It's a bit confusing, but there's so many ways to utilize the basin to get those pops in your hair.
I love it.
Yeah.
What is it? Balayage.
Balayage.
You make it sound so, I don't know, a little bit different to when I use mine. Okay. Ellie, I mean, you are in the salon definitely one of our most amazing freehand painters to actually watch. In fact, I get quite distracted when Ellie's beside me working and she's painting, because just the way it's actually mesmerizing. It's so beautiful to watch. I just want to get over there and be a part of it. And Ellie, you can feel me when I do this in the salon.
I can feel that.
What do you love about freehand painting? Because I know what it brings to the floor in a really busy salon. When you have an artist doing that, it almost like brings some calm to the team. Like, it's a really beautiful thing to have going on in the salon visually for not only the other stylists, but also the other clients. It's beautiful. It really does attract everyone's eyes. But what do you love about doing freehand paint balayage in the salon?
I mean, there is, so it's really hard to just say one thing, but one thing would be, like, I just like doing it, the actual action and the practice of it. Like you were saying, it's almost mesmerizing. But when I'm doing that, I almost am just like in this state of mind, and you're in the moment and you're really painting the hair, and it's it is therapeutic. It's really, you can just zone out and get right into it. But that's just one small thing I like about it. But the other thing is, which this might sound a little bit odd, but when you're painting the hair and your client's sitting there processing, what it looks like on the hair when it's processing is kind of crazy. Like, you'll see just these big chunks of color, and I think for the client that can be a little bit overwhelming, and they're a bit like, oh my god, what are you doing? But then when you wash it all off, it's like this whole other layer. It comes off and it's all blow waved and it sits together beautifully, and it's like, how did that go from that to that? Do you know what I mean? I love that feeling, because it's unexpected. But when you're doing it, when you've got the practice up and you've done this for quite a while, you know exactly what you're doing and how it's going to look at the end. But that processing time in the middle is a bit like, to someone who doesn't know, they're like, what is going on here?
The rinse is the best part.
It's
Like
the
rinse
best.
the freehand.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, I can't even explain it. It's like this, like
It's an aha moment.
exciting. It's so
Yeah.
exciting because you're seeing it come off, all that white that like, it's not going to look white. And then you have that perfect raw organic,
Yeah.
like it's just the best.
It's so good. It's the satisfaction. It's the satisfaction.
It's better than rinsing foils.
Yeah. Not to play favorites or anything.
All right, love it, Ali. Okay, this one's for you, Cole. Now, I guess when you started with your client base, this is not really freehand painting was not something we were doing. So you have a very set client base that has evolved over, you know, I think 13 years now at Shumba. So how long did it take you to master the freehand balayage work, and then how did you implement it into your current client base, bearing in mind that you've had these same clients? Like, you know, if anyone out there knows Colleen, like if she gets a client, it's a client for life, but you have definitely been involving some of your clients into the freehand balayage painting work. How long did it take you to kind of like grab it and run with it?
I feel like because balayage has been something that's continued to evolve over the years, and it's changed so much, even the way that we teach it in the classes to what's going on now, it's changed a lot, and all the products that have come out and everything. So I feel like it's something that I don't know if I'll ever master it, because it is going to keep changing and evolving, but that's just me as a person as well. I'm like that with everything. However, I do feel like it's taken me a little while to be able to change a lot of my clients to be able to start using, like a lot of them are now addicted to base and balayages with their foils, and a lot of them are like loving just like a little bit of balayage here and there to kind of give them a bit of variation with their chocolate tints and things like that. So usually, because I am quite booked up in the books as well, I need to have fast techniques to be able to implement like a lot of this balayage sort of stuff. So it's taken a few years to be able to get the right timing, the right everything, to be able to want to use it all the time for quick hits with my clients.
I just want to bring you back to something earlier you said in that conversation, and I think this is sort of the key to your success, is that you are never comfortable with thinking you know it all, ever. Like, you are the most, you know, like kind of hungry and thirsty person for information and education that I think we do have at Shumba. And to be this far into your career and still be like that, like it's you're phenomenal, Cole. We love the way you.
It's the passion.
So you never, there's never any complacency in your skill set, and you're always developing and evolving, and it's pretty inspirational for us to have that going with us. Okay, Crystal, amazing hair painter, balayage artist. Give us your top hair painting tip. Like, what is your number one go-to tip for any sort of newbie or even someone really experienced that wants to really be great at freehand painting?
Saturation. Done.
Saturation.
I never have to think about it. That is
Yeah.
the one thing. As long as you understand saturation, you will get the lift that you want, whether it be no lift, just peeling one layer off, or 6 or 7 levels. If you're not saturating right, you're not going to get it. So there's a million things that you need to know with freehand painting and perfecting it and getting the brush stroke and the mixation and the consistency and the size of your sections, everything. But if your saturation's off, you're never going to have the result that you want.
So what happens if we've got too much saturation? Because we've all been there.
To me, oh my gosh, too much saturation. No, but you can have too much saturation and break the hair. Like, if you're completely saturating the hair as if it was in a foil where the entire piece of hair, top to bottom, roots to ends, is saturated, and you're going in with my 40 volume recommendation, you're going to have a problem. If you understand that you're saturating only the surface or only the ends that you specifically need that extra lift, then you're making an educated decision on how to saturate.
And say if you don't saturate enough, what happens?
you don't get the lift, or you're going to get completely inconsistent lift, where this piece again. So if you're saturating too much here and not enough here and resaturating on your ends, and you haven't done that, you're going to rinse and you're going to have like a strobing effect on the hair. Like that's how you get bands.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can completely do it the wrong way where you're not saturating enough and you're getting no lift. And I think that's a massive reason why people don't use freehand balayage, or are the people who are, oh, it doesn't lift. Like I'll use it for, say, cleaning out ends or something, but I'm not using it for a whole look because it doesn't lift. And it's because maybe your product's not right and your saturation is not correct.
All right, Cole, in your experience, give us your top hair painting freehand balayage tip.
Probably the biggest one is clean workspace, clean hands, clean towels, keep a spare brush there. I am messy. I am a messy creative. However, I'm going to admit it. I am going to admit it. When I'm doing pastels, there is bright color everywhere. However, when it comes to balayage, you definitely need to have, it's so important to have a clean workspace and to make sure that you do have that spare brush if you do get a bit messy with it and everything, because otherwise that's where all the mishaps happen. And clean hands all the time.
I'm just going to elaborate on that. So see that painting in the background at Colleen's? Like I wasn't sure if that was a picture from the ground that she works on underneath her chair at Shumba.
Oh, okay.
That's what
Probably
looks like.
more what my workspace looks like, yes.
I mean, we have this pristine white Riverstone rubbed back concrete floor, and we all have set areas that we like to work in, and I'm pretty sure if you visited Shumba, you would possibly be able to pick which workspace is Colleen. So I'm glad you brought that up, though, but definitely being neat. And another little tip that we've got on that, especially with your freehand painting, is that if you start to get messy, take your gloves off, remove your towel, transfer your product into another bowl, grab a new brush, because if you just reset yourself, the neatness will come back. But sometimes you start out really neat, and as you work on it, just ends up into this diabolical mess. But definitely just resetting your trolley, your equipment, your gloves, your wipe-up towel will kind of bring you back on track there.
Very true.
Guys, I'm taking notes.
Taking notes.
Crystal. Cleanest, tidiest person. And one time I used Ellie's trolley while she was off, and I got one little dollop of color, and she came back and she said, "Who's used my trolley?" And I was like, "Oh God, what do you mean?"
So, I mean, we've all got to start somewhere. I can tell you I'm quite neat, but I didn't start out that way. And I remember the first really big job I got in Melbourne was at Edward Beale, and I'd worked with their head colorist for about 2 weeks. And he came in one day and he had a brand new colour chart, and he said, "Oh, Belinda, this is mine. I'm going to put my name on it." He wrote Steve on it. And then he said, "And this one's yours. I'm going to write your name on it. It says Belinda." He said, "Because I find the colour chart really difficult to work on with yours because there's colour all over the colour chart." So I used to put more colour on the colour chart, I don't know how, than I did on the client's hair. So, you know, we have all had humble beginnings in terms of our society, but I literally
out that trolley situation of Ellie's, like it's still haunting.
I remember you texting me going, "I'm so sorry, I just have to tell you, I need to get it off my chest."
confessions of colour crazy people. Okay, Ellie, give us your top hair painting tip.
Okay, well, I mean, saturation and keeping tidy are on my
Tip.
list of top 3, but I think tension would be my next major tip. Tension is everything. If you don't have, the hair pulled taut, you're not going to be able to get a clean paint. You're not going to be able to lay on the amount of saturation in an even way. If the hair's kind of sagging, it's just going to make a mess and you're going to have it all going everywhere. So I think tension is like a really important thing to know. You've got to think of the hair like it's your canvas. If you're painting on a floppy tissue, you're not going to get a beautiful result. But if you've got a nice taut canvas, you're gonna work really well.
All right. So I've got another question for you, Cole. I'm just throwing in a few more here just to keep you on your toes. What's your top foiling tip? What's your top foiling tip?
Definitely when it comes, like making sure you're using all the right equipment. So the right foiling combs for what type of weave that you want. So if you want like a finer weave, using like a finer sort of tail, like metal tail comb. If you want more of your like thicker weave, using like a bit of a thicker tail comb. And also body positioning is really, really important when it comes to foiling as well. So if your sternum isn't right in front of your work, I find sometimes that's where you can get a bit of drag and things like that too, and not get as close to the root.
Yeah, I love it. Ellie, what is your top foiling? Have you got any foiling tips for us? Foiling tips?
I would say knowing your angles is really important with foiling. I mean, same with freehand as well, but I think especially with foils is knowing your angles and what kind of result you're going to get from, you know, say if you're doing a vertical foil, you're going to get a pretty obvious sort of straight line. If you're doing a horizontal foil, you're going to get a load of like quite a saturation of color depending on your weave as well. But I love working on a 45-degree angle. A lot of the time that's my go-to because I know I'm going to get the most seamless grow out. I'm going to get the most beautiful blend and a real sort of softness of color when I'm working on a 45-degree.
Yeah, I think if you get that angle right, you can really diffuse the color.
You can diffuse so well. Yeah.
Where you can't really, you can see there's lots of color in there, but you can't specifically see where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is a bit more lived in. Love it. All right, Crystal, what's your top foiling tip?
No, I'm just kidding. I think for me, I was listening to your live before with Ellie, and I think that what you were talking about leaving the natural hair and not over foiling is a huge thing for me. I don't particularly love doing a full head of classic back-to-back foils all the time because then I'm eventually, when they want to change it, working that low light back in. Whereas if I can use their natural to my advantage and understanding that you can still have those foils, same as you said with angle, Ellie, those foils close to the root and really tight that it looks like they're having kind of back-to-back foils. But because you're leaving that depth in a triangle there, understanding that I think was a really big thing for me. It's no secret that foiling was never my favorite thing. It didn't always make sense to me when I was doing it. And once I started to be able to visualize what I was leaving out, that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, I think
so I like foiling and I choose to foil a lot, but for a long time
I think there was this moment in time, which went for some time for me, where it was like you were the superhero of the salon if you could put in the most amount of foils in the head. And and the client got really used to that. It was almost like you were over servicing the amount of color that you put into the hair because that was sort of the hero of the moment. It wasn't really about the result. It was like, oh my God, my hairdresser put so many foils in my hair. It was like this crown of glory, and we used to wear it too. Whereas I think now definitely the trick is to back off from that and to get these amazing results. It's more about what you don't colour versus what you do colour. So it's taken a moment to sort of, I guess, especially me having a client base of so many years and you, Cole, as well, to kind of back them out of that has been somewhat a challenge. Do you reckon, Cole?
Yeah, it's taken a while to get used to it, definitely.
They feel like you've been telling them to get this full head of foils for so long, and you're still doing a full head of foils, but they're like, but you're not putting as many in. It's not taking as long, or it's quite uncomfortable. You're totally right. It's awkward, like being like, I'm not going to put as many in this time. Like, why?
You don't need it.
Yeah.
Paul always says, don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah, it's true. It's a very important thing.
Understanding what the hair actually needs. Like, why am I putting in a low light if I've got the natural hair that's doing it for me already? You know what I mean?
It can be too much repetition that you're not actually thinking about what you're doing. It's just like, oh, I have foils, so I'm going to foil in my classic pattern. Foils. Yeah, I think so.
All right. So, Ellie, this one's for you because you're pretty cool at sort of, redesigning the placement of the focal points of the salon, the foil placement that we're kind of embarking on right now. But what is your favorite go-to foil placement technique in the hair?
Oh God. There's so many. I mean, lately, when we were back in the salon, I've actually been loving focusing color behind the ears, especially on my long hair clients, just because for two reasons. When their hair's tied up, you want to see some color underneath here, but also a lot of my clients are wearing their hair down and wavy and all beautiful over their shoulders. And I find a lot of the time I'm just was kind of missing this part in here, and it's so dark and there's all this depth, but I've got all this other beautiful color on their ends. And I think this area in here was kind of lacking something. So at the moment, I've really been focusing on creating dimension behind the ears. So when the hair is up, it looks just as good as when it's down, hanging over their shoulders. So that's something I've been working on lately too.
That's your money piece move at the moment.
Yes.
All right. Now, Cole, you're why, you have a massive client base and you have a huge amount of foil clients as well. Why do you think they're drawn to the precision foil work? Because I would definitely say you're a precision foil artist now. Why do you think your client base gravitates towards that type of work?
I think because with the grow out, it is actually still a lot softer than some of the old foil work. So because I am doing it on a 45-degree angle and everything, and following the head shape through the back and like catering to their growth patterns as well, the grow out is a lot softer. So, a lot of my clients, they're coming in like every 6 to 10 weeks to get that precision foil, but the grow out isn't a nasty line and not really harsh like this. It's a lot of them like prefer that because they're still getting that maximum amount of lift and still getting, and also a lot of the time, as I said, I am mixing a bit of base and balayage with that too to give it a bit more of a modern pop on top of that. So they are still getting that maximum lift and a nice grow out and being able to come in like 6 to 10 weeks instead of 4 weeks and feeling like, oh my God, that grow out is out of control.
Just on that base and balayage, Cole, that's an add-on service that you do to a lot of your precision foil clients. Why are we doing, like we really going quite nuts with that with most of our, especially our blondes. What is the benefit in doing a precision full head of foils and then followed by the base and balayage?
So over time, I feel like it can start to tip to the other way. So it's starting to get a little bit lighter and brighter through here because like through here, you're getting mixtures of like toner buildup, pollution, and it's getting a little bit brassy and a bit darker and a bit duller. So just to kind of give it that brighter pop and a little bit more saturation through those ends, it helps to sort of do the base and balayage. But if there's nothing there, so if you don't already have lightness there in the first place, the base and balayage won't work.
Well, it kind of does a bit,
will,
just not in the right way, right?
Yeah, it's gonna do it the way you don't want it. It's gonna make more work in the end. Just don't.
All right. So, Crystal, so you're new to our salon as of about February. You don't really have, obviously you're from Canada, you don't really have a strong client base in Melbourne, but all of a sudden you have drawn a very particular type of client to your column in the salon. How do you do that?
I think
not without our assistance, if you know what I mean. Like you're able to generate clients.
Yeah, Instagram, baby, Instagram. It is a time-consuming thing, and at this point, I've got about 3 Instagrams going. But that is 100% how I've been able to move to the other side of the world with not one client and have a client base now. And it's actually something that shocks me. Like, I always think I need to go home to get all my clients, and then when I have this, they are mine, and it's from Instagram and really being on top of the social media and posting the things that you like. I don't only post the after photos, I post the before and after. I post me doing the work, the process, because the clients like to see that and see that it's actually you doing it. You can post a million after photos, but they're not quite yours, maybe. You don't know. I think doing that on Instagram is 100%. And also having the staff in their coworkers know what you like doing. Like, I think everybody's aware that I like doing the big color jobs. I like doing the balayage. I like doing stuff with dimension, that when they get a phone call for that, if they can't do it, it's me, because I've really verbalized to everybody what I like doing and what maybe isn't my favorite. I'll never say no to a client, but that isn't my favorite, and having your team back you in that, I think is really important.
Yeah, because the way you can draw a client, it's incredible, and it's the right client for you. But I think it's just energy attracts energy.
Thank you.
And I think the salon can be promoting, but really the power is in your hands sometimes, you know, about creating your own work and the work that you want to do and putting that energy and effort in there. And I see that coming through for you.
And I think we, as
incredible.
hairdressers, we put a lot of education into hairdressing and courses, and I mean that's what we've been doing this whole time. But I've actually taken a lot of social media courses. Like, I think as hairdressers, maybe we don't think to do stuff like maybe a business course or something like that, but those are the things that are allowing me to understand how I'm attracting the client that I want in my chair.
Yeah, love it. All right. So guys, you can drop as many questions as you want in this feed. We will keep revisiting it. A lot of you are probably going to be watching it on replay, because if you're not in Melbourne, you're probably at work today. But if you're in Melbourne, you might be hanging out watching this live with us live. So I'm going to leave it there. If you want to upskill, be inspired, or learn in any way, you know, we have 2 amazing courses that are about to be launched on the 1st of October. And one is our freehand painting class and one is our foil masterclass, both live, both on Sundays. So I'll drop the information here in the comments. We'd love to have you join us for like a whole 5 hours where we can really share everything we possibly can, and our passion for, you know, all things hair colouring. So thanks heaps for joining me, amazing Shumba Colour team. I wouldn't want to rather be any other place than hanging out with you girls on a Saturday talking colour. If we can't be doing colour, we can definitely be still contributing to our industry and talking about it. So thanks heaps for joining us, guys. And we'll be in touch soon. See ya.
Bye.